Hey, what's up, guys? Tom over at TFC MMA. We are here Sunday morning. Last night, UFC Vegas 67, first car of the year. Great way to start the year fights wise. We also got some big news yesterday afternoon. I'll cover the whole John Jones, Cyril Gahn, Francis Ngannou story in another video because I frankly have a lot of thoughts on it. As you guys know, John's one of my favorite fighters, and I'm very opinionated on the others. So we'll do a separate video for that, but with this one, we really just want to break down the awesome card we had last night to start it off. Great fights from top to bottom. Main card had some awesome performances, some awesome, great performances on the prelims fought by some guys getting their names out there. So I was very pleased with it from start to finish. And we'll start off Charles Johnson, Jimmy Flick. Very, very great performance by Charles Johnson. He controlled the standing very well, and then even on the ground, Jimmy Flick we know offers a great submission threat, and Charles Johnson really negated that. He didn't really let Flick get going from guard, and kept the ground and pound steady. Do I think the stoppage was a little premature? Yes. Would I have stopped that early? No. Do I think anything would have changed in the fight? No. I think Charles Johnson would have just knocked him out maybe in a couple more seconds. So, as much as I think the stoppage was early, I'm not mad at it. Especially a guy coming back from retirement, first fight back. You don't want him taking a bunch of damage. And Charles Johnson cut him up pretty bad, so I was okay with it. I didn't want to see Jimmy Flick get his ass beat for a couple more minutes, so I wasn't mad at the stoppage. Little premature, but I'm not mad at it. Next, we had Dan Argueta versus Nick Aguirre. Obviously, Dan Argueta had a different opponent set up. Nick Aguirre came in last minute, and he was a big betting favorite, was Argueta. He was about a minus 500, 5-1 favorite. So I think we all knew the fight was his. I saw some people betting Aguirre because maybe by submission and such, but Argueta did a good job, even while put a lot of output. Where at certain points I thought he was going to gas, Argueta did well. He kept control, kept composure, put on a pretty good performance from a guy who was on tough, wasn't able to get it done. So I was very impressed. Good performance on his part. I liked him on tough, so glad to see him doing well in the UFC. The next fight, one of the better performances of the night. Alan Nascimento, Charles Oliveira in the corner from the Shuto Box team. And he put on a very Charles Oliveira-like submission with that rear naked choke. It was very good. He came in about a minus 300. You could have put him at minus 500. He looked so much better in there. And the grappling advantage was very, very noticeable early on. And that's what got the fight finished in the first with the submission. So yeah, he got a performance of the night bonus. I really like that. It was a very well set up choke on the back, crawling up there. So great fight there. And that was a good start for the Brazilian team. Didn't go as planned the rest of the night, but it was a good start for them. And I talked about Argueta gassing. This next fight, we had Mateusz Rebicki versus Nick Fiore. A lot of people were not too happy on this one, saying it was very one-sided, and the odds showed it to be one-sided. Fiore from New England Cartel had Rob Font, those guys in the corner. But if you look at his record coming in, he fought a lot of guys with very questionable records for a guy coming into the UFC. So it had Rebicki up to about a minus 750 favorite or so. And he showed why. In the first round, he was very, very dominant, came swinging haymakers, and I was thinking to myself, I'm checking Twitter and everyone else saying he can't keep this up for 15 minutes. He's going to gas. And in the second round, he gassed hard. And I frankly thought Fiore possibly could have a chance, but Rebecca, even though being gassed, was able to utilize the takedowns and control time. He kind of got on top and stayed there, let himself rest back up, and was a good game plan from his part. Did a lot of damage in the first with those heavy shots, but you saw him shaking his arms after, and he's got some short arms, a lot of muscle in there, a lot of lactic acid buildup, so you knew he was gassed, but very impressive performance to fight through that adversity. He's a guy from Contender Series, so I was very impressed by him. A lot of people were picking him by finish, but didn't get that done, but put on a good performance, so you can't be mad at that. The next middleweight bout we know was going to be a banger. Al Hassan versus Ribeiro. Al Hassan, if he's going to beat you, he's going to knock you out. And that's what he did. And Claudio Ribeiro, also very good with the knockouts. A lot of power in his hands. And We saw that. I was very impressed with Abdul Al Hassan in the first round. It didn't look great, but he was mixing things up pretty well. And I like to see that from a guy like him because a lot of people know that right hand and that leg, those kicks, the punches, the guy's got so much power. So it was good to see him kind of mix up with the takedowns. And then you saw it in the second, at the beginning of the second round when he knocked Ribeiro out. It was because he was able to mix it up and get Ribeiro thinking about other things than just the haymakers, and then caught him. Ribeiro had a lot of success in the first round with leg kicks and such. So it was good to see Abdul go through that and get it done. Obviously, he had the split decision against Joaquin Buckley. I believe I didn't see the post fight interview. I was driving home watching the fight. I didn't see the post fight interview, but I heard he called out Buckley for a rematch. I doubt that happens. I think Buckley's going down to 170 as he should. Very small for 85, so it'll be interesting to see. But Al Hassan always puts on bangers, always puts on great fights. So if he's on the card, I'll always be watching. And it was good to see him get a nice highlight knockout win again last night. Then Javi Bashrat, Mateus Mendonca. Good performance on Bashrat. Another decision. You know he really wants to get that UFC finish. And he had said in this post fight he thought Mateus was going to gas, which Mateus did gas. But he kept fighting and sent it to a decision. Pretty clear decision for Bashrat. But Mateus showed some heart not getting finished there. And you could tell Bashrat really wanted the finish. Bashrat came into this fight at about a 3-1 favorite. And I think he showed why. The fight IQ was very evident there that Bashrat's fight IQ is on a whole different level. Mateus has some power, and he goes out there and swings it. But you saw what happened at that, too, where he was getting countered by Bashrat, and Bashrat using some takedown to his advantage and stuff. So he didn't get the finish, but another good performance by Javid Bashrat. Called out Chris Gutierrez, I believe, El Guapo. So I think I like that fight. I'd be happy to see it. And I think Bashrat's right. He needs a ranked opponent next. He's beaten some real good guys pretty clearly. So I would like to see him get a ranked opponent next and go from there. But good performance on his part last night. Gotta get the coffee in. Late night. Speaking of ranked opponents, Umar Nurmagomedov, Raoni Barcelos. I had a buddy text me last night, not huge in the MMA, but knows the bigger names. And he texted me and he said, when did these Nurmagomedovs learn to knock people out? And I said, fair point, man. From someone who doesn't watch UFC too much on their part, they hear Nurmagomedov, they just think it's going to be a wrestling convention. And Umar has shown that he's a great grappler, good submission threat and such. But last night, oh my goodness. Went in there with the knee, followed up with that hook, and put Barcelos out cold. I mean, very, very impressive performance. Got the walk-off knockout. And give this man a ranked opponent. He was a minus 1,000 favorite. Minus 1,100 in some books this fight. And as much as Barcelos was a good test, you saw he wasn't on his level. I hear some people throwing around Jan, Dvalishvili. I think it's a little premature for that, to be honest. But I'd like to see him, Ricky Simone, in March. Obviously, Umar wants to fight March 4th on the John Jones card. And I think that would be good. Do him versus Ricky Simone, or maybe I'd have to look at the bantamweight rankings. I know a lot of fights are already lined up, but great performance by Umar. And yeah, like my buddy said, who taught these Nurmagomedovs to punch? A great knockout. Then we had the highly rated women's bantamweights. This could be looked at as a title eliminator fight. We had Ketlin Vieira versus Raquel Pennington. Obviously, Rocky kind of has had a career resurgence in these last couple years. Had that, I believe it was lost to Holly Holm in early 2020, but hasn't lost again since. I saw her fight at UFC 273 in Jacksonville, beat Aspen Ladd, put on a pretty good performance. And last night was a very, very close fight. When it came to the decisions, I had Ketlin in a few parlays, so I said, well, I hope Ketlin gets it done. But I recognized that it was a very, very close fight, so I wasn't going to be mad no matter which way it went. And Pennington got the nod via split decision, and both girls were pretty active. Obviously, round 3 was very clear for Ketlin, but the judges gave Raquel 1 and 2, which you can make an argument for. She utilized the Superman punch pretty well. The first few times she did it was mainly just to close distance, and then she started actually firing it as a shot, and it actually worked pretty well, damaged Ketlin a bit. So I said going into the week, I was very confident in Ketlin, thought she was going to going pretty much better in every way and would get Raquel Pennington probably win by decision, possibly late finish. But Raquel showed a lot of heart again. Obviously, has that baby on the way and has shown great improvement as of late and put on a good performance last night. Will be interesting to see if she gets the title fight or if they try and make her fight another person again. Obviously, she already lost to Amanda, so I would assume with that and her age, the UFC wouldn't want to toss her right back in to a title fight with Amanda, but you can't say she's not deserving. So kind of a tough little scenario there, but good performance on Raquel Pennington's part. And now one of the best performances of the night, one that shocked a lot of people. I saw a lot of people on Twitter, and myself included, were very high on Puna coming into last night. Soriano's got a lot of power in that backhand, in the kicks, but Roman Kopylov had put on a good performance his last time out at UFC Paris. But a lot of people weren't too confident with him coming into this fight. But he proved pretty much everyone wrong. Phenomenal jab throughout the fight. Every time Puna was coming close to him, he was getting lit up by that jab from Kopylov. And looked like Puna was just thrown with everything he got from that backhand. So he's going in there trying to land these big shots, and Kopylov was content to just keep jabbing his face off because it was a very good stiff jab, and he made it work very well. We saw in the second round when the fight got finished, Kopylov started landing some big old body shots, hit him with a few kicks where I thought Puna was going to fold. And he was clearly hurt, but he didn't fold. But then kept hitting him with the body shots, kept hitting him with the hands, and in the second round, the fight was finished. So very impressive performance by Kopylov. Proved a lot of people wrong. I know the MMA community, especially on Twitter, was very high on Puna coming in this week. A lot of people placing multi-unit bets and such. But very good performance on Kopylov's part, and will be interesting to see what they do next with him. So I'm excited with it. Dan Ige, Damon Jackson. I told you going into this fight, I thought this was a big step down in competition for Dan Ige. He was on a losing streak, but it was against guys like Mazar Evlov and Josh Emmett and such. And he proved last night their levels. Damon Jackson is a good fighter, has been on a very nice little run as of late. But Dan Ige looked better in pretty much every facet. Fight got stopped briefly in the first round for what we thought was an eye poke. It wasn't an eye poke. It was actually the punches that caused the damage, and then Ige's glove grazed across Damon's eye. But that gave Damon a little breather, and he was not doing a great job evading. He was staying across the fence, so Ige was just backing him up and kind of teeing off on him. And we saw all that accumulate in that second round. Dan Ige put his lights out. Dan 50K Ige certainly got his 50K last night, as we saw with a performance in the night bonus, and he was probably the most deserving on the card. He talked a lot in that post-fight speech. Some depression and such, and you can see why. I mean, the man was on a losing streak, and even though it was against top competition, when you have newer fans come to the sport or people that don't watch the UFC that much, they just see losses and they think, oh, this guy's a bum. We all know Dan Ige is a great fighter, but it was really good to see him get some of his confidence back last night with an awesome performance. Sucks that had to come against a guy that a lot of fans love, like Damon Jackson, but very happy to see Dan Ige get the performance of the night bonus, and very excited just to see him get a good win and get back on the winning track. Main event time. Here we go. Late replacement for Sean Strickland. I told you guys in the pre-fight video, I thought Sean Strickland was going to win, and I think you'd be stupid not to bet him decision at plus 250. I bet on that. I wish I bet heavier because it did hit, but that came in about plus 250, so I jumped all over it. Whoa, that made it a good end of the night betting-wise for me. I didn't really bet much other than that fight, but as you guys remember in my pre-fight video, I said the keys for Strickland are going to be pressure and cardio. And that's what won him the fight. I mean, you could definitely see he was more aggressive than last time out. He saw in the Jared fight, the judges didn't see enough huge shots, and he thought he won that fight, but the judges gave it to Cannonier. I scored it for Strickland personally, but I thought it was a close fight. I wasn't mad it went to Jared. So Sean really took initiative to go out there, land some heavy, heavy shots, and just put on an overall great performance. So I was very happy to see it. Imavov kind of got checked there. I wouldn't say fraud checked because we know he's not a fraud. He's a good fighter, but just kind of got showed. Maybe he's not quite ready for that top level yet. Sean Strickland did a phenomenal job marching him down, keeping pace, testing the cardio, and landing that jab, but also landing some heavier shots. Sean utilized the takedown. Sean utilized clinch work. Sean Strickland was doing phenomenal body kicks and even a few head kicks. Like, it's awesome when you see a guy that you know is a good fighter that doesn't utilize a lot of his attributes. It's good when you see him do it. So I think a lot of people are really excited to see Sean Strickland go out there, get a win, coming off the couch. I mean, I think he posted on his Instagram story yesterday. He was weighing like 218 pounds going into that fight. He was coming off the couch, and to go have a 5-round fight a couple weeks ago, not trained, come back and go another 5 hard rounds against a guy like Imavov. Great performance on Strickland's part. Showed why he's a top 10 fighter, and he says the UFC gave him a bag for it, and I'm happy they did. I mean, the guy deserves it. He's a company man. I don't know if you guys watched his post-fight press conference. Kind of wacky, but Sean Strickland, what do you expect? Said a lot of crazy shit, but also said some good stuff. Like, I'm a company guy. Mick called me. We got it done. So, great performance on Strickland's part. Great card in general, guys. I'm really excited to see it. So glad we got that John Jones news. As you guys saw, Dana addressed it in the post-fight press conference, came out, said, I know you guys are going to ask about the heavyweight fight, so here are the facts. And like I said, I'll be doing another video on that, probably publish it this afternoon or tomorrow. I got a lot of thoughts on that matter, so we're just going to put it into its own video. But we're glad the UFC's back. It was real nice to have a Saturday full of fights again, and I really look forward to next week in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Let's go. Glover Teixeira, Jamal Hill, Figgy versus Moreno 4. A lot of great fights coming. My guy Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny. So we can't wait, and have a great week, everybody.